counties are not paying for this managed equipment service. The letter from National Treasury dated December.
Can you share that letter with us?
I will give you a copy. It concludes by saying the funds allocated to the managed equipment program is from the national government share of revenue raised nationally.
Your predecessor, James Macharia, says, after informing counties what you want to do,
yes,
in turn, the county government will be the lessee, whilst the national government will be the principal. Of course, the contractors will be the lessors. And in order to ensure that budgetary allocation to the counties are applied to meet the lease obligations. This is a letter from your ministry. Was your predecessor telling a lie?
It was anticipated at that point that the counties would contribute. That position was actually vacated. And the actual position was that then the burden reverted totally to the national government through a conditional grant.
Where is the letter as a follow-up to Annex 5 to tell the counties that, contrary to what I said in the earlier letter, it now does appear that your budget allocations will not be interfered with?
Then it means there is a fraud somewhere.
Can you, as the finance officer, give this committee agreements between your ministry as part of the national government and each of the 47 counties to show that you have given them a conditional grant, the conditions of the grant?
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the big story. We've just seen the Senate ad hoc committee right there. The Vice Chair, Moses Wetangula, putting the outgoing health CES, Cecily Kariuki, on the spot. Well, this was brought again to the media light in regards to the cancelled ICT component tender, which was supposed to be serviced by 7 Seas Technologies. But let's get right into it. Dr. Simon Kegondu joining us from our City Centre studios. Good evening. It's been long overdue. I hope you can hear me now. I beg to ask, what's your take on the MES scandal? We just heard earlier on from Governor Alfred Mutua, who mentioned that in Machakos, they seem to be benefiting from this machinery that was brought in order to, bring proper UHC in terms of universal healthcare. What's your take on this? Are they truly serving that particular purpose?
Thank you very much for calling me to this studio. The lesson from the MES is that every time the doctors speak, the Kenyan people better listen. Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union and Kenya Medical Association called out the MES a long time ago. 7 years ago, we called it out. The MES was laced with good intentions, but hijacked by procurement intentions. Part of the problem we are having with the MES was that the health was devolved not as it was supposed to be dissolved. The Ministry of Health, in planning for the devolution of health, had actually come up with a very good program of human resources for health under a health service commission and management of equipment under MES. And this was because the premise of this was that the national health system would manage dispensaries up to the Kenyatta. The governors were only supposed to do primary health care and things to do with water in terms of health. Now, the problem was that when in June 2013, and Governor Mutua was one of the people at LICO Regency, fought the president to be given health, which was not actually devolved part of it, they were given the human resource, and that led to 50 strikes. But at Ministry of Health level, the managed equipment scene was seen as a procurement deal. The managed equipment deal the format is wrong. The way of pushing it and saying that you can lease equipment and it is cheaper is wrong. It's like a mortgage. When you have a house costing 1 million, if you take a mortgage, it'll eventually cost 3 million. In the managed equipment scheme, this is even worse. After you have paid the 3 million, you do not even own the equipment. After 7 years, the people who have the equipment will come and ask for it. So the MES was a good scheme, but hijacked by procurement deals.
Dr. Kigondu, good points you're raising there, especially where procurement issues are synonymous right here. But I dare ask, in terms of the medical individuals who are supposed to, actually use these machines to dispense healthcare to those in need, was there training of any sort actually given to them?
And that was the human resource development was supposed to go hand in hand with the managed equipment scheme. So what happened is that the equipment now was sourced, the human resource was not trained, and therefore you have a mismatch between equipment and human resource. And as we have often stated, that a machine cannot treat the people. You need to, if you are to do an order, it is better to send, for instance, a radiologist first to a center before sending the CT scan machine or the ultrasound machine. And therefore, human resource, which was supposed to come under Health Service Commission, was neglected because a Health Service Commission, which is coming up, I hope, after the BBI has concluded its proceedings, then preceded the machines, which are then idle, as we have seen in the reports that you, as the media, have highlighted. Some of the machines have been used, but again, another problem that we had was that the governors were not involved in saying which machines do they need. So it was a push system, whereby machines have been bought at a central level and they are pushed to the governors. The governors, and I remember clearly, Isaac Ruto and Munya, actually refused very correctly, because some of the machines that were pushed to them, they as a county government had acquired and therefore did not need it. But these were pushed to the counties because the counties, monies was withdrawn from the counties to pay for this equipment, which one, they either did not need or needed to be paid for. Another danger that we entered was that in the lease agreement, there was a certain amount that was to be paid to those who supplied the year. Failure to do that, then you get charged interest. So Kenyans, taxpayers lost a lot of money because there were times when we were missing to pay for this leased equipment. Therefore, Kenyans have lost a lot of money on a push system, and the human resource for health has not been developed.
All right, Dr. Kigondu, speaking of money, let's just listen to a proper bite here by one of the companies that was involved in this particular project. Let's listen in.
This project was initiated three years back, and we bid for it in 2017, and we won the project competitively against global organizations. And I'm not sure how many companies participated, but eventually we emerged the winner of the contract in a lifetime, and they have significant impact at a country level. So we've tried significantly to create dialogue and try and figure out how do we get this project implemented, because it's a project that creates value for the taxpayer and for the country. So for us, saying that, and I keep reading the narrative that there is 80% compensation. There is no value for us in the 80% compensation. We'd rather do the project.
All right, 7Seas Technology MD right there. But right now I'm joined on phone by the Nandi Senator, Samson Cherargei. Thank you so much, sir, for making time. Welcome to The Big Story. We're talking about the messy MES scandal. It would be interesting to get your take, especially since you come from Nandi. Do you believe that there's actually proper value for money that has been invested by the counties? Are these machines in proper use in Nandi County, if you could speak? And what issues might you have with this particular project?
Thank you for having me in The Big Story. It has been long. What I can say is that in as much as the Senate is investigating the matter at the moment chaired by Senator Visiolo, I think this was an outright rip-off of the counties and add resources. And I hope the investigative agencies will be able to rein into some of these dubious deals because counties have never gotten the value for the money. You remember Nandi County was among the counties that has not fully utilized the medical equipment supplies, these machines. And the intention of the government when they started in 2015, thereabout, was to ensure that access to medical care was meant for all wananchi. The intention was okay, but the execution was poor. And the refusal by Governor of Bomet then, Governor Isaac Ruto, and the confirmation by the Chair of Council of Governors, Governor Paranya, that the counties have been ripped off is important. And you remember, it is so sad that the rip-off of counties has been done through the budget because you remember in the last financial year, as a Senate, we refused to allocate any money that is meant for the leasing of medical equipment. I have seen also in this year a proposal of budget policy statement. They have also allocated the same amount. So the rip-offs keep continuing. But in Nandi, those things have never worked. I can confirm to other counties that there is no value that has been given to the counties in this. And this is so sad because billions of shillings have been lost, yet the county governments have not benefited. You remember the health has been devolved, and therefore we would have expected a lot more that money be given to counties to purchase or procure on their own, because this is a big scandal. So what happens after 7 years? Does it mean that if you have put a CT scan in Kapsabet County Referral Hospital, you take it away because you have leased to the county? So these are the challenges that we hope it will be able to be fixed.
Okay, Samson Cherargei. Last question, very brief. Someone brought this point up in terms of counties paying uniformly for the equipment despite not getting equal number of medical kits. You know, in some counties, they seem to be working properly, functioning properly. In some, it's not the case. What's your take on this in terms of uniformity in payment?
But that is why I'm saying, so my brother, since inception, this thing was designed either by default or by design to rip off from the counties, because by the fact that the counties are paying uniformly, you can't compare a county like Lamu County, which has lesser health facilities, than, for example, Kakamega County. You can't compare Nairobi City County, which was in Kisumu County, which has a national referral hospital, and Nairobi has, unlike maybe Kisumu County or Nandi County or any other county. So in this, I think there was a lot of unfairness. This thing was, intention was good, but it was added, it was not done in the best interest. And I think we need to put this closure, and people behind this scandal must be prosecuted.
Right. Thank you so much, Samson Cherargei, right there, giving us his take through phone. He's a Nandi senator, and definitely the Senate is very well vested in looking into this particular MES project and the scandal that it might be. Let's cross over back to Dr. Simon Kegondu. Your closing remarks, but kindly infuse this particular point. Why not purchase this medical equipment? Why go for a lease that is almost due, 5th year in the 7-year agreement? What's your take on this as we conclude?
Between 2007 and 2013, the hospitals were run very well, and we purchased equipment that outlasted up to this day. And therefore, you're very right. The form that they took of leasing was a purely procurement deal. Someone was out to benefit. Therefore, it is in our... But because no one goes punished, then people continue doing this. You must now go back to who signed this deal. And they must stop burdening us as the taxpayers of Kenya for paying for bad contracts that were signed by a person. There is a person responsible. The problem is that the people responsible are never taken into account. They are never told to pay for bad contracts. I was not there signing the medical equipment scheme. If I was cabinet secretary of health, I would never have signed that medical equipment scheme because it is taking taxpayers' money. And therefore, until action is taken against those who signed the Kenyans into a bad contract and they pay using their resources, then we'll continue discussing medical equipment skill and all. Other point is that human resource for health under Health Service Commission must go hand in hand with the equipment. But let's charge those who put us in this quagmire.
All right. Many thanks, Dr. Simon Kegondu. Definitely appreciate your input right here on the big story. He sits on the National Executive Council under KMPDU. We also appreciate Governors Alfred Mutua as well as Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, not forgetting our Senator from Homa Bay County, that's Moses Kajwang. So it seems the Ministry of Health or someone from the Ministry of Health was conniving with these international companies to actually swindle taxpayers. We'll definitely get to the bottom of this. Thank you so much for watching The Big Story. My name is Jesse Rogers. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good evening.
This is KTN.